Well, good afternoon. We're here in the state EOC. I'm joined by our Division of Emergency Management Executive Director Kevin Guthrie. Right now, Tropical Storm Debby is about 140 miles south-southwest of Cedar Key. This will become a hurricane likely later this evening, and it will make landfall in the state of Florida tomorrow as a hurricane, most likely as a Category 1 hurricane, but it could potentially be even stronger. Current maximum sustained winds are 65 mile per hour. We anticipate it could reach 85 to 90 mile per hour sustained winds. This is a track that's very similar to the track that we saw 11 months ago with Hurricane Idalia. It is, though, while similar track, going to operate and have much different effects than Idalia did. Idalia was close to a Category 4 hurricane. It had strong winds that ripped through the Big Bend area, caused a lot of damage, a lot of debris. This storm will not have winds that reach the level of Hurricane Idalia, but it is going to produce way more water throughout the northern part of the state of Florida. And we are looking at potentially really significant flooding that will happen, particularly in north central Florida, as this storm makes landfall in Florida and then heads northeast across southeast Georgia, or southern Georgia and northern Florida. So the message is, make sure you're executing your plan now. As the storm comes, you may get hit with an awful lot of water, a lot of rain. There may be immediate impacts that you see, but you could also see flooding that happens days afterwards, after the storm passes. Do not go into flood waters. There could be dangerous debris, there could be downed power lines, and please do not drive your vehicles through flooded streets. The number one way we have fatalities as a result of floods is people trying to drive through the flood water. So it is a hazard, and please heed that advice. We have requested a federal disaster declaration, and that has been approved. Our pre-landfall declaration by the federal government, of course, it's mostly a monetary thing, helps unlock some additional funds for certain things that we want to do. We have, at the state level, constructed more than 9,400 feet of flood protection devices to support critical infrastructure against flooding impacts. So for the first time, Florida and its partners are deploying these flood control barriers around utility substations as a best practice to ensure power is maintained throughout the storm for as many Floridians as possible. When we saw Hurricane Ian, the substations that were higher up weren't impacted by the water, made it much easier to effectuate power restoration, and so our hope is here to mitigate the power interruptions as a result of this storm. We have 3,000 service members from the Florida National Guard that are on standby to assist with the state emergency response, and that will include search and rescue, route clearance, commodity distribution, and protection of critical infrastructure as needed. Florida National Guard has 10 rotary aircraft and over 400 tactical vehicles that are staged to support relief operations. We've also activated the Florida State Guard, and we have over 100 soldiers ready, 9 shallow water vehicles, 10 UTVs, and 2 amphibious rescue vehicles. The Florida Fish and Wildlife Commission has prepared their full fleet of airboats and john boats, and we have 12 swiftwater rescue teams. Power outages will occur, so people should be prepared for that, particularly if you're in the main path of this storm. There is going to be power outages. Now, working with Florida's power companies, the state, we have identified up to 17,000 linemen that are ready to go in and restore power when the storm passes. Now, they'll do that as soon as it's safe to do that. Remember Hurricane Idalia? It was a very rapid restoration. Hurricane Ian, same thing. So we understand the importance of getting the power back on, and Kevin is working with the local communities. I was able to speak with the mayor of Tallahassee earlier today, and I told him, and he wasn't mayor then, and I wasn't governor. I said, Hermine came, I think it was 2016, and it was, I think, a Category 1. And there were people without power for weeks in Tallahassee. And we don't want to see that again. And so he agreed. He's already talking with FPL and some others to accept mutual aid, and we want to be helpful with that as well. Of course, Florida Department of Transportation, the cut and toss, clear the roads, but also if they need to clear things to be able to help with power restoration, they're going to do that. But that was a learning experience, I think, for the state and the city to see how the Hermine was, and that's not going to be acceptable going forward. And so I'm glad that the mayor and I are on the same page on that. We also have on hand for this storm statewide almost 11 million bottles of water, almost 33 million shelf-stable meals. We have pre-staged 670,000 bottles of water, 287,000 shelf-stable meals, 3,600 sandbags, and nearly 14,000 tarps in the various parts of Florida where we expect the most significant impact. As I mentioned earlier at our briefing, the Florida Department of Transportation has staged resources in secure locations in proximity to the protected path of the storm for quick response. So 1,200 generators to support traffic signals and emergency power needs for our transportation system, pumps, hundreds of pumps that are staged and available to pump out water as needed, and that may very well be necessary in a lot of different areas of the state. 230 pieces of heavy equipment and trucks for cut and toss operations, 120 bridge inspectors, 120 cut and toss crews to swiftly clear state roads and interstate from debris, and 150 additional crews to assist with various emergency response efforts, including damage assessments, flooding, and traffic signal restoration. FDOT has been clearing roadways and shoulders for the last few days. The Department of Management Services has issued state office closures on their website. To see if your place of employment is closed today or tomorrow, visit dms.myflorida.com, dms.myflorida.com. Florida Department of Health has deployed 117 emergency vehicles to support emergency evacuations and patient transport as needed. Staging is currently in Jackson and in Marion counties. The Department of Health is also collecting information for those who may have or care for individuals with special needs and may seek assistance. And you can sign up for that at snr.floridahealthresponse.com, snr.floridahealthresponse.com. The Florida Department of Environmental Protection has pre-authorized 850 disaster debris management sites for the 61 counties under the state of emergency to temporarily stage storm-generated debris. Now is the time to exercise your disaster preparedness plan. The storm, we're already seeing impacts in southwest Florida. We're going to continue to see impacts across the west coast of Florida, but it is going to, the eye of the storm is going to hit the state of Florida tomorrow. So execute your plan. If you have been if you have been ordered to evacuate by your local officials, please heed that call. And when you're evacuating, you don't have to drive hundreds of miles. There's shelters within each county. They have every county has a pet-friendly shelter. There's accommodations for people with special needs. So heed that advice and make sure you're protecting yourself. Now, if your plan is to simply hunker down in your home, then just do so, and that's fine. And I think the winds, Category 1 or even 2, most homes in the state of Florida are going to be able to withstand that. Pets, I mentioned, there are pet-friendly shelters, but please make sure they have what they need to ride out the storm. We want to make sure that we're not leaving any pets behind. It's never safe to walk or drive in flooded roadways. As I mentioned, there are hidden dangers. There are potentially downed electrical lines. So please do not mess with that. Do not try to drive in it. This stuff subsides. There'll be pumps. There'll be a bunch of things that will be happening. I know people want to kind of get out. They got things to do. They want to check on things, but it is hazardous, and we want to avoid any loss of life with this storm. Generators. Make sure you properly use generators. We have had in the past, although not in the more recent storms, I think because there's been an emphasis on this messaging, but you cannot use a generator inside your home. or inside your garage. It will produce carbon monoxide that can kill you. So make sure a generator is positioned outside your home and that the exhaust is not coming inside your home. So please, using a generator is fine. People want to have power. I get it, and do it, but just do it in a way that's going to be safe. So please do not have your gasoline engines inside your home, and make sure they are in use, not just outside, but at least 20 feet away from your home. Emergency alerts can save lives, so please have multiple ways to receive those alerts and act when you receive them. Listen to your emergency management officials at your local level. They're going to have information specific to your part of the state of Florida. And if you want to find that emergency management information, you go to floridadisaster.org/counties. So this is a similar path to what we saw last year with Hurricane Idalia. It is going to be much wetter. We're going to see much more inundation across, really across the northern part of the state, north of I-4, but particularly in north central Florida. You're going to have the potential for some significant flooding. That creates hazards, that creates risk. So please, take care of yourself. Heed the warnings that you receive at the local level. We have a whole host of resources that are staged and ready to go.